Hi everyone, in this video I want to talk about the shift of the North Node and the South Node into different signs. So in the last 18 months we've had the North Node in Taurus and the South Node in the sign of Scorpio, and now we're shifting towards the North Node going into Aries and the South Node being in Libra, and this will be for another 18 months starting from July 17th, 18th. Interestingly, that is also the time of a new moon the new moon in Cancer that we're having as well, which is kind of an intense new moon in that it makes an opposition to Pluto. If you wanted to watch that particular video, that is on my Patreon. Just letting you know, there'll be a link in the community section of my channel here where you can find that. It'll be titled New Moon in Cancer Patreon. If you want to join me on Patreon, would love to see you there. I love being on Patreon, like I always say, and do all different videos on there. Sometimes it's astrological updates. It's about the new moon or the full moon. I look at the chart, talk about that. Other times it'll be different things. You know, if there's an unsolved case, which doesn't come up very often, that I'm really drawn to one that I want to look into with the cards or psychically, I will do that on my Patreon though. But that's kind of less common posts. The other posts that you can find on my Patreon are pick card readings, or you know, if you want to learn astrology, I do sort of tutorial style videos with diagrams and looking at charts and things like that. So there is a variety of things, and I do go very intuitively, but I also go with what the audience wants to watch. So you can vote there as well for what you're after. So the link for Patreon will be below. There's different tiers. If you want to learn tarot or psychic development, I have a tier for that as well. That's a separate tier, but you still get access to all the other videos from the first tier. But anyway, have a look at the link. You'll find out all the info there. Now, for this video, I'm talking about the nodes changing signs. That's the focus of this video. So if you're interested, you know, stick with the video so you can find out how this may affect you. Now, obviously, if you are an Aries sun, moon, or rising in particular, those placements, or a Libra sun, moon, or rising, you will be very much affected by the nodes changing signs and the transit of the nodes over the course of the next 18 months. This transit goes through to January 12th, 2025. Okay, so you know, the nodes being in different signs usually last 18 months roughly. So with the North Node in Aries, what can you expect? Just generally speaking, you'll be drawn more towards your own individual path and what that means for you. So South Node in Libra is more about letting go of old relationships that are no longer working for you, any relationships that are superficial or have a superficial kind of quality about them in some way. So maybe they're just not, you know, they're not aligned to your future path, the Aries North Node. The Aries North Node is a path towards the future where you're headed, and it is connected to a physical and visceral sense of passion, excitement, and spontaneity, as well as a strong drive forward to take action. Okay, so you may find that at this time you are compelled by a strong need to initiate something new. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, so it's all about initiating a new beginning. It's all about new beginnings for Aries. So, you know, if you're an Aries rising, say for example, this is going to be most likely, obviously it could, depending on your degree, it could fall through the transit period through your 12th house and then your first house. So that's going to be, while it's in the 12th house, letting go of things from the past and letting go of an old part of yourself, an old identity, to come into this new sense of yourself. And you know, obviously with the nodes as well, you have to factor in that they move the opposite way to transits, of course. So there's that to keep in mind as well. So but the easiest way to find out where this is happening for you is if you can look at your own chart and see, okay, well, I've got Aries here and I've got Libra here. So I've got, say, you know, for me, I've got Libra in my 12th house, and then part of my 12th house, as well as Scorpio. And I've got Aries in my 6th house. So, you know, I would look at those two houses and see what's changing for me. So, you know, with the North Node going through Aries in my 6th house, that would be changing the way I work in some way, or changing something significant around my work life. So it's going to be interesting to see how. Now, obviously, it's not just about the house. If you have planets or placements or points in those houses and they're going to get triggered by the transiting North Node, that's important too. So you'd want to look at that. It's interesting to note that, oh, sorry, I'm just looking at my notes here. What else? Oh, that's right. So South Node Libra is about karmic relationships shifting. So, there's going to be endings of relationships, or even complete letting go of certain types of relationships, not just romantic, obviously, but there may be people in your life that you're just outgrowing in some way, and you're moving away from, you're moving towards what you feel called towards in your life, which is the Aries energy. So I guess the way to also look at the nodes and to understand the nodes is it's not always about fully letting something completely go and it not being in your life in any way. It can more be where you're trying to find that balance between, I know I've got to let something go because I'm being called to this direction, but there's a bit of back and forth as you try to find that new path with the Aries energy. And so, Aries is a very instinctive fire sign. It's about passion. It's about your ambition, your drive, your goals, what you want to take action around in a way that feels very, on an internal physical level, just inspired. So there could be moments with the North Node in Aries where people are just, something like a courage comes over them to take action in a particular way that they didn't even see coming. And it can be an impulsive energy sometimes, but sometimes it's that energy where that's what your instinct is telling you, So, that's going to be the prominent energy for the next 18 months with the Aries North Node. I mean, the North and South nodes, what we usually see in the collective, now, so I'm talking about all the collective energies. For example, with Libra South Node, it's going to be karmic rebalancing of relationships and shifts in relationships where, especially if something was hard to shift out from, then the South Node in Libra is going to help you let go of it. So that will be, if you've been in a situation where you kind of hanging on to something, but you're supposed to be moving on, this next 18 months is going to help you to do that. People that have the strong Libra energy, when the node goes over your particular degree, your point, you may feel it's a time where you can't overexert yourself. You can't push too hard in life. You kind of just have to deal with the karmic energies that are kind of getting kicked up around you at that time. You just kind of got to deal with what is. So if you're someone that knows your chart, look at, say you've got 15 degrees of Libra sun, you might want to look at when the South Node goes over your sun. That's not a time to, say if your sun's in the 6th house, it's not a time to push situations with work. It's not a time to force situations with your health or to go to extremes with your health. It's a time to make sure you're looking after yourself and you're getting enough nutrients, because the South Node can bring up issues, but it can also drain the energy out of things as well. So we can feel, if the South Node goes over our ascendant, say if you've got a Libra ascendant, Libra rising, you might feel when that's happening a bit more drained, a bit more tired, a bit more like, I don't really feel like being out in the world. I feel like I've just got to deal with what's in front of me right here. If you've got Mars in Aries and the North Node goes over your Mars, you could find that you feel very impatient at that time. You feel very impulsive. So do be careful if it's a Mars, say you've got Mars in Aries and the North Node's going over the Mars. You may feel compelled to take some kind of action, but it may not be the right time. And you may feel like, oh, I just got to do this now. I want to push this situation. But it can be a bit too impulsive, because the North Node with Mars can be quite a malefic energy. It can be something where you've got to kind of think about it and not sort of lose yourself to that energy. Same with the moon. So if transiting North Node in Aries is going to go over your Aries moon, you're going to have to check yourself at that time and just go, okay, you might be making some changes in your life, but just checking with your instinct that you're not, going to extremes or getting obsessed with something or over the top with something. So yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do an extended video for Patreon. So if you'd like to know more information around, specifically based on the rising sign, I'm going to go through each rising sign and talk about the nodal axis and what that means for each rising sign. Follow the link below to my Patreon where you'll be able to watch that video, and that's for tier 1, which will be $6.99 Australian per month. So that's about $5 US dollars per month. And I do post up to around 5 videos a month, depending, but you get a lot more content than what I post here on YouTube. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. If you have questions or comments, do post them below as well. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.